Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. It has been more than a week since Hamas terrorists slaughtered more than 1,000 innocent Israelis. The carnage is unimaginable. Hamas is not interested in helping the Palestinian people. They are not interested in peace or creating a homeland for Palestinians. They are exploiting the very real pain of the Palestinian people for their own evil ends. At the same time, we need to recognize that when the Israeli military bombs neighborhoods where Hamas hides, innocent Palestinians are killed as well. There are 2 million people in Gaza, and nearly half are children. Their grief and bloodshed is also very real. On Friday, I spoke to the Israeli Consul General here in Miami.
Never in my almost 20 years of career, and certainly not throughout my life, did I get a phone call from Israel. You need to go and tell a family that they've lost their son in battle in Israel. Nobody ever, and I had this kind of event on Sunday when a Florida family lost their son, who is the brother, who is a soldier in the special forces of Israel, and he died in battle Saturday night. And since they live in Florida, they asked me to go and notify them, and nothing prepares you for this this kind of emotional, psychological turmoil, burden, stress. There's no other way to describe it. So yes, we are doing things that in regular days, even though we're very busy, we're doing different things.
Can you give me a sense for what that was like to have to knock on that door?
First of all, I got a call on Saturday, and he died Saturday night, and the family is religious, and it was Shabbat, and it was a holiday of Simchat Torah, so I had to carry this thing with me. No, it's not only me; it's my team. Until Sunday night. We know a family here, just a few miles away from here, from my home, have lost their brother, and they don't know that their life had turned upside down. And I was standing outside the door for him to come back from shul, and it's something that is almost embedded in the Israeli culture. I didn't even have to knock at the door. He looked at me. He didn't know me, but he looked at me with my team, dressed up in our suits and just standing there and trying to get to him. The minute or the second I opened my mouth, we all shatter. And it took me, I don't know how many attempts to complete the sentence which I had to complete. Oh, that's a heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
What was that sentence? What were the words you needed to say?
I'm sorry. What's the question?
What were the words that you needed to say?
Your brother Abraham fell in battle in Gaza on Saturday. Got killed. Our phrase in Hebrew is fell, but it's was killed in battle on Saturday. That's all. And then when I said your brother, the first word, that's all. That's all I had to say. That's all I had to say.
You have family, obviously, there. You have, as I understand it, and if you're unwilling to talk about it, I understand, but if you could share, you have family that's preparing, that is in the Army, being called up, being prepared for what's to come, right?
My answer has two parts. First of all, not only that I have family and friends, my very own brother was fighting shoulder to shoulder in that same battle with Abraham that fell in battle. So and they were friends, and I ended up being the Consul General here, having had to notify the family. But this is not about my personal story. It's a national story that is composed of thousands or maybe millions of personal stories. And by the way, not only in the US, across the world, certainly here in South Florida, the connections that this community over here has with Israel is just unbelievable. And having paid the ultimate sacrifice is just one example. We see hundreds of Floridians who are fighting over places on flights to go to Israel and enlist in the IDF because they served over there and now they are in the reserve. But Jim, the numbers that we're talking about are mind-blowing. And we are already almost 1,400 people. 1,400 people. It is still called a terroristic attack for some reason, but this is a pogrom. This is a pogrom. Think about it. Jews at their homes, going to shul on a Shabbat, doing family gatherings, are raided by, they're still called terrorists, but they should, I mean, this is a Nazi ideology. This is medieval cruelty to annihilate the people, butchered, maimed, burned, shot, mutilated. Babies, decapitated babies, Jews, youngsters in a music festival are put in the center and circled by pickup trucks and shot to death by machine guns. It's like Babi Yar, put on a pickup truck and herded to their death or to somewhere else for their death. This is no regular terroristic attack. These are no regular human beings. These are no human beings at all. This is what we're facing. And this is heartbreaking. This is devastating, and we are going through a crisis of a magnitude that I'm not sure that we have ever experienced. And it's going to be long and gruesome.
It's going to be long and gruesome, and there are those who will also talk about what is happening now with the Israeli strikes into Gaza. And I want to ask you about that. I want to talk to you about that. I want to give you a chance to give your perspective, because there are those who say that because Hamas uses Palestinians as human shields, because they hide within neighborhoods, when the Israeli government then strikes those neighborhoods, you and I both know that innocent Palestinians will also die and have died. How do you weigh that in terms of the cost of war?
Well, I'll start easy and then I'll escalate. Nobody, and when I say nobody, it's nobody. No country in the world, not a single country in the world, certainly not the United Nations or other countries that have no respect to any international norms or human rights. Nobody in the world can teach Israel and the IDF norms and values or the international law. Nobody. I'm a veteran of the IDF. All my friends are veterans in the IDF. We've all served in the IDF, and we know exactly what the IDF does and the IDF doesn't. What it does and what it doesn't do. And we never, ever, under any circumstances, we will never, and we have never targeted civilians. Never. And we have more respect to the Palestinians' human rights and lives than the Hamas itself, and maybe from the other Palestinian authorities or branches themselves, but certainly more than Hamas. But when Hamas uses, for years, not just now, for years, uses its civilians as human shields and uses its mosques and hospitals and schools and its ambulances to shoot from, to hide arms in, to hide terrorists in, to take hostages under tenants. Nobody, these places are not secure. These places are not safe. And any place that serves or may serve as a source of a terroristic attack against Israel is a legitimate target. We don't want any civilian to be affected or to be hurt. Not even one. The Palestinians are not our enemies, and this is not a war between Israel and the Palestinians. This is a war between Israel and the ultimate evil, which is Hamas, sent by Iran. We have to be very, very clear of that. But if for years these Gazans have let the Hamas fortify themselves and execute terroristic attacks Israel for years, and we've been going through this kind of attacks, or 10,000, 1,000, tens of thousands of rockets that have been shelled over Israel for years. If they have done nothing, then they are complicit, and they are part of this issue. They cannot just hide, oh, we are civilians. No, we have all the respect to your safety and security. Get out of there. Get out of there. We are still doing all kinds of procedures to make sure that unaffected people, uninvolved people will not be hurt. But Hamas is the one who is using human shields. Hamas was the one who is preventing his citizens, his Gazans, to evacuate, because he knows that Israel would hesitate to strike if there were civilians involved. So not all the responsibility can be laid on Israel. Not at all. No. Jim, we have to understand. We're in a different story. We're in a different world. Saturday, it's a different story. Hamas will be taken down, eliminate this way or the other. It will be painful. It will be gruesome. It will be gruesome for Israelis. It will be gruesome for Palestinians. But it's over. It's done.
What's your message to the American people? What do you want them to know?
First of all, I want to thank the American people. And the second thing, that first of all, don't look away from the horror, as devastating as it is, and it is devastating. It's just heartbreaking. Don't look away, because you need to look at the evil in its eyes. And when you see, and I have 5 kids, Jim. I have 5 kids. I can't be more sensitive to that. You see burned picture. You see pictures of burned, decapitated babies. I mean, what kind of person, what kind of human being, as evil as it may be, does this thing? I wouldn't even call them animals. It's an insult to animals. We are fighting the ultimate evil. And if you do not know to distinguish between the evil and the good, between the darkness and the light, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. So this is the time to stand up for Israel. This is the time to support Israel and give it all the time and means in the world to defeat it. Because our fight over there is fight for you. For you. We're fighting for our civilization, for our culture, for our values, everything that we uphold so dear. It's not only an Israeli fight. It's certainly not only a Jewish fight. We're talking about a universal fight that Israel is in the front line, and that has to be it has to be understood all over the world. We don't need any soldiers. We have our soldiers. We have our mighty IDF who will win this war, but we do need your support.
When we come back, I'll talk to Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Stay with us. Welcome back. Jared Moskowitz represents one of the most Jewish districts in the House. I spoke to him about the war now underway in Israel and the chaos created by Republicans surrounding electing a new speaker.
This is going to reshape the situation in Israel. It's going to reshape the situation in the Mideast, and the tremendous loss of life that has happened and the tremendous loss of life that is yet to come in the war that Israel has declared on Hamas. Hamas needs to disappear, Jim. And now that is now clear. The policy of containment on Hamas has failed, and it is now time to eliminate Hamas from the Gaza Strip.
What does that look like? How does that get achieved?
Well, right now we're seeing obviously Israel, weakening Hamas through making sure that they can't resupply their weapons, resupply fuel. We're seeing them hit targets of weapon caches and softening the target. At some point, obviously, they're going to have to go into Gaza, which, quite frankly, I think will eliminate some of the bombings and keep civilian life down. But obviously, going into Gaza means that Israeli soldiers, the IDF, are going to be putting themselves in harm's way, and going door to door looking for Hamas fighters. And so it's going to take weeks. It's going to be grueling. It's going to be like sieges we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan, going door to door. This is the most urban area of 2 million people in a small geographic place in the world. And so it is a very complicated mission. It's going to have extremely high risk, but it is necessary so that Hamas can be eliminated, and then possibly, the Gaza Strip can be remade for the Palestinian people there, for all the innocent civilians there, maybe with the UN or the Arab world. But obviously, we can't get there until Hamas is eliminated.
The images, though, coming out of Gaza with regard to the buildings that have been brought down with Israeli airstrikes, there is also a civilian death toll there. I'm not trying to equate it, but a death is a death, and there are a lot of. I would imagine you believe that there are innocent civilians who are being killed in Gaza right now as part of the collateral damage of this war. What factor should that play in how Israel approaches this?
Well, Jim, look, it's horrible. We don't want innocent civilians to die in Israel. We don't want innocent civilians to die in Gaza. But war is horrible. And the only party responsible for bringing this war to fruition is Hamas. Hamas is the one who has put everyone in Gaza in great peril. Hamas obviously did not care about their fellow Palestinians because Hamas knew that Israel would respond, and Hamas knew that the response would be tremendous. And so Hamas did not care that they put everyone in Gaza in great peril. With that said, Jim, Israel is not doing what Hamas did, targeting civilians. Hamas targeted civilians. Israel is not doing that. But we do need to open up, I think, humanitarian efforts to people in Gaza. We do need to talk about humanitarian corridors. Obviously, it'd be nice if Egypt reopened the border crossing to let people in. That's obviously up to Egypt. But Egypt now is not letting people escape, out of Gaza. But look, Israel absolutely is factoring that in. I know that's something the United States cares about and is constantly messaging with the Israelis. And so it's something that's going to go on for the next couple of weeks, is how do you eliminate Hamas while trying to keep civilian casualty down? But make no mistake about it, Jim, Hamas puts children near their weapons. They put their missiles in schools and hospitals. They continue to put their civilian population in deep peril because they obviously care. They have no care for their fellow Palestinian.
What role should the United States be playing in all this?
Well, the United States needs to stand steadfast with Israel. They need to supply Israel with the weapons that they need to finish the mission, which is to eliminate Hamas. And you're seeing that. You're seeing that from the Biden administration. You're seeing that from Secretary Blinken. You're seeing the bipartisan support from Congress and the government rally around Israel in their greatest time of need in 50 years. This is the largest single death toll in a single day for the Jewish population since the Holocaust. Right now there is no daylight between the United States and Israel.
At what point would you be okay with U.S. military force being used? In other words, either missile strikes from U.S. ships or planes. At what point would U.S. involvement be justified in your opinion?
Yeah, so obviously that's a call for the president. As far as my red line is if Hezbollah invades Israel from the north. So if we see Hezbollah invade Israel from the north, if we see Hezbollah launch the very sophisticated missiles they have targeting Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Ben Gurion Airport, if we see Hezbollah get involved in the war in a major way, that's a red line for me. And I think the United States will have no choice but to use military force, because at that point, I think Israel's very existence is threatened. And oh, by the way, Hezbollah can't do that without the direct, strict permission of the Iranian regime. And so right now, we're not seeing that. I think I'm hopeful, perhaps, that that's not going to happen. I know the international community is working to ensure that this war doesn't widen. But that would be, for me, Jim, the reason why the United States would have to use military force, not boots on the ground, but using the ships that we've moved into the areas, the aircraft carriers, the battleships, the aircraft that we've moved into the area to help protect Israel.
Why do you believe Hamas struck now? Was it because the pending potential agreement between Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel and the extension of the
99.9%. I mean, I can't say 100 because, they haven't told me, but 99.9%, Jim, that this was clear. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel were very close to a deal. We were getting reports on how close they were in non-classified briefings. And so there's no doubt that this was done to try to stop that, to try to re-energize the Arab world against Israel and for the Palestinians. There has been a reset in that region since the Abraham Accords has happened, and there's no doubt Hamas wanted to draw Israel into a war to make them look like the aggressors again in a last-ditch effort. And look, obviously we have to get past this phase, but I don't know that they're going to be successful, Jim. I think that there are many partners in the region that want to move past the current quagmire in the Middle East, expand the Abraham Accords, and make their own peace deals with Israel. There's a lot of economic, technological reasons, desalinization, water, lots of challenges that they have in the Middle East that Israel can help solve. And so I'm hopeful that this does not derail that process, because that would be allowing Hamas and Iran also to win in the region.
We're taping this Thursday early afternoon. There is still no House Speaker as we are sitting here right now, and it doesn't look like there will be a House Speaker anytime soon, as Steve Scalise does not have the number of votes needed to get to 217 and become Speaker at this point. Putting aside the Democrat and Republican of it all, what do you think this message that we're sending to the world is right now as to the dysfunction in Congress?
It's a horrible message. It's a horrible message to our allies. It's a message that emboldens our enemies. It undermines democracy in the eyes of the world. People like Putin and President Xi saying that democracy doesn't work anymore. You will use this as an example. And so, look, I've been saying that Democrats need a functioning Republican Party. A Republican Party in chaos is not good for Republicans. It's not good for Democrats. We have a two-party system here, right? And it's not good for Americans. And so, look, I'm hopeful that my Republican colleagues can figure this out. And by the way, Jim, if they can't, then they need to come to Democrats to get them out of this quagmire, because the worst thing that could happen right now is that Israel needs a supplemental aid package. They need new Iron Dome missiles, and we can't do it because of the Republican chaos. I'm willing to work and listen and figure this out with them, but they gotta be willing to come to the table if they want Democrats to get them out of this quagmire. I mean, at some point in time, if the Republicans are so divided, and this division I blame on Donald Trump for destroying their party, if they're so divided that they can't pick a speaker, then the American people should demand that they come to the Democrats to figure this out.
We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. You can follow me on the app previously known as Twitter @DeFede, or email me at jdefede@cbs.com. We'll be back again next week. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.